Hi, I'm Divine Harmony, bringing you the Cosmic Insight weekly forecast video blog for July 11th through the 17th. I used to do these videos a while back. I really loved doing them, and then there was about over a year that I stopped doing them. And now I'm redoing them, but I've added in another layer of the forecast, and I'm weaving in all the goddess astrology. I'm looking at the asteroid goddesses, Vesta, Pallas, Ceres, and Juno. I'm looking at the dark goddesses, Black Moon, Lilith, and Eris. And I'm doing this in anticipation of the women's only online conference, the Sex God Yoga Conference, that goes from July 18th through the 22nd. And I am a part of this. I'm offering a talk on the Divine Feminine and astrology, and there's over 30 other amazing women offering gifts from their heart, wisdom they've gleaned from their experiences. And this is all essentially for sisterhood to gather up virtually, raise each other up, and have discussions about how sexuality and spirituality are interwoven and how they're two sides of the same coin, and both of them are what make us whole, complete beings. For more information on that, I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end of this forecast, but right now I'll talk about what's going on for this coming week. So Monday, July 11th, we've got Mercury in Cancer. So Mercury is the mind, the intellect, and in Cancer, the mind is very emotional. It's like we think and feel at the same time. A gift of this placement actually is being very empathetic, very sensitive, feeling other people's, emotions or realities. The shadow side is we can overly identify with emotion. So have a hard time rising above, getting perspective from a mental place because we're so in the emotion. That day, Mercury squares Uranus and trines Chiron. And so Chiron and Uranus are in a long-term aspect that started in 2009 and goes till 2023. So 14 years where we've got Uranus, the rebel, the revolutionary, the great awakener, aligning with Chiron, the wounded healer. And this is an amazing aspect, actually, for waking up, for healing, for shining a light on our stuff and being willing to look at it and deal with it and have profound shifts as a result. And with Mercury linking up with Uranus and Chiron, this wake up, shake up, but healing energy can play out in communication. Mercury square Uranus can bring sudden insights, aha moments, information, sometimes unexpected, what you least expected to hear or understand. It's definitely an unstable energy. It's more disruptive. It's like, look at this. But, if we're open to the truth, it can be an amazing moment of the truth setting us free. Mercury is the lower mind, Uranus is the higher mind. So them linking up is this huge capacity for our lower mind to get online with the higher mind and really see the bigger picture that's at play. We have to keep in mind that Uranus is journeying with Eris right now. So Mercury and Eris, I think, are later in the week, or they were last week. Actually, it's last week. Which, is also, Eris is the goddess of discord. She throws the apple of discord and says, look at this. Nobody else wants to look at it, but I'm going to bring it up. And so that energy is present Monday, but because Mercury's trine Chiron, there's a huge capacity for emotional healing and release, for coming from the heart and sharing our thoughts, our feelings, and holding space for others to do the same. And we really can have healing communication with Mercury trine Chiron. We just have to be willing to speak the truth, hear the truth, see the truth. We have to have capacity for all of it to come in, not just our little bit that makes us feel safe or secure or in control. Venus moves into Leo that day, so part of the day she spends at the very last degree of Cancer, which is a karmic completion degree. Again, making us look at our emotional attachments and our feelings and where we're caught in the swirl of them. When she moves into Leo, she shifts from water to fire, from yin to yang. And Venus in Leo, she's the, first of all, Leo is the sign of the king, the queen, the royal one. So Venus in Leo is got a royal energy, wants to be seen. She's creative, she's passionate, she's expressive, she wants to be adored. So the coming weeks of Venus and Leo is a great time to be playful, have fun, create, Do things you love. Do things you love with people you love. The shadow side to be aware of is Venus in Leo can be a little narcissistic, all about her, needing to be adored to the point of, getting a little out of hand. And so being aware of that is important in the coming weeks with Venus and Leo. On Tuesday, Venus squares Juno, and this is a theme this week because both Mercury and Venus, the mind and the heart, are in Leo, moving into Leo this week, and they square Juno, the asteroid goddess of partnership and marriage, and then they square Black Moon Lilith, the fierce dark feminine. And Juno and Black Moon Lilith were conjunct May 29th, and they do it again September 11th. In this period of time, June, July, August, like 3.5 months, we've got Juno dancing with Lilith. And this is an interesting juxtaposition. Juno, by herself, she is about partnership. She's about marriage, commitment, compromise, collaboration, contracts we make with others. Whereas Lilith, she's the fierce, independent, dark feminine. Juno wants to compromise. Lilith, not so much. And, Juno can over-compromise and not do what she needs to do for herself, whereas Lilith can, be too independent and too intense. And so these two kind of dancing with each other can bring some very potent and intense energies into relationship dynamics right now. Definitely, romantic ones, but also business partnerships. There's a lot of deep emotional energy and shadow that can come up that needs to be navigated with consciousness. It has a very positive side. Scorpio is the sign of transformation. So there's this capacity for profound transformation and shifts in relationships if we're willing to go into the shadow. So, and move through it, not get stuck there. So Venus square Juno, she's the goddess of love and beauty, and she has to do with what we love and what we're just wanting for ourselves. Whereas Juno is about what we're, interested in terms of commitment and where we will compromise. And so the tense aspect between the two of them can be this push-pull between what I want, and it's for me, and I'm not thinking about anybody else, and what is needed in relationships in my life for harmony, for depth, for truth, whatever. And so being aware of that and finding balance, between me and we, and also between, the surface and the depths. Leo is not, Leo's a fire sign. It's creative, passionate, expressive, but it's not a sign that wants to go down into the underworld. Scorpio is, as Scorpio lives there. And so needing to find a balance between lightness and even superficiality, and then depth, but also over-intensity and not coming up for air, can be one of the lessons this week. Not just on Tuesday because Venus squares Juno, because throughout the week we're essentially going to have Mercury and Venus square Juno and then Lilith. And so it's a theme all week long. Then Wednesday the 13th, Mercury is at the very last degree of Cancer, and he squares Ceres at the very last degree of Eris. And so we've got the mind and the intellect in a tense aspect with the Great Mother asteroid goddess. She represents home family dynamics, safety and security issues, nurturing and nourishment, how we nurture ourselves, how we nurture others. Mercury square Ceres is a great day for communicating about home family dynamics, but it is a tense aspect, and Ceres is in Aries, and she just came away from alignment with Uranus and Eris. And so there's definitely a disruptive energy playing out right now. There's things getting rearranged, and there's a need to express anger and take a stand and take action, but we don't want to overdo it to the point of like burning bridges that we maybe want to go back across at some point. Because Mercury is in Cancer, there's a need to also share our honest emotions, not stuff them, squash them. Especially in spiritual communities, there's often this thought of like, oh, anger or pain or whatever are low vibration. So, if you've got those, you're not as conscious or not as evolved. I don't come from that tradition. My background's depth psychology, and for me, emotions are emotions. They're actually information from your soul. Anger, in particular, is an emotion that often prods us to take a stand, to set our boundaries, to say no. Anger often comes up when our boundaries have been overstepped, or we've overstepped our own boundaries, or we haven't kept our boundaries, and so then we get angry. And if you use the anger to motivate you to act in conscious, healthy ways, it's actually really helpful. The only issue is when we either stuff it and repress it, and then it comes out explosively later, or it comes through depression and physical body illness, or we overexpress it and just lash it out on others, And, that has its downside as well, because then there's all this damage control we have to do after the fact. So being aware of that is important on Wednesday. Then Mercury moves into Leo, so we've got the mind, first the heart, on Tuesday Venus moved into Leo, Monday, and then Wednesday Mercury moves there. So Mercury is shifting into Leo. Communication is more about our passions and what we think and what we want. Leo is the sign of the self, and so it's like being able to communicate from this place of I. The shadow side, though, is overly doing that, so that we're like, it's all about me, and it's what I want, it's what I need, it's what I think. And then having a strong ego energy that makes it difficult to hear other people's perspectives, truths, needs, whatever. So being aware of that in the coming weeks as Mercury's in Leo is important. Then later that day, Mars quincunxes Uranus. So this has been a long-term transit because we just had Mars retrograde. So whenever a planet goes retrograde, it essentially goes over all the degrees the first time, stations retrograde, goes over them again, stations direct, goes over them a final time. So this is the third Mars-Uranus aspect. Last week, on I believe it was Friday, Mars quincunxed Eris. So over this last period of time, from last Friday until Wednesday, this week Wednesday, we've got Mars triggering the Uranus-Eris conjunction. So Uranus is the rebel, the revolutionary, the great awakener, and he's in Aries, and he is waking up the collective anger and rage, and he is waking up individuals to take a stand. And you can see it in the news right now. There's a lot of stuff going on that's very Mars-Uranus, bringing things to light, the shadow that nobody wants to look at. Very intense stuff that's playing out on the outer stage, but also on the inner stage. From my own personal experience, from people I know, clients I have, everybody's got some big thing up to be looked at the moment. Now, Eris is the goddess of discord. That was last week, but because Uranus and Eris are very close together, that energy is still present. She throws the apple of discord in when there are things that are not being looked at. And so, she doesn't just come in and disrupt shit for, the hell of it. She's not in her whole essence. She comes in to shine a light on what nobody wants to look at, but until it gets looked at, evolution can't happen. Change can't happen. And so Mars with Uranus and Eris is a very potent energy. Both signs, Mars is in Scorpio and Uranus, Eris are in Aries. These are the two signs ruled by Mars. So a strong Martian energy, positively great for taking action, dealing with things head on, clearing the path. The shadow side is anger, aggression, violence, destruction, power over, power under dynamics. We need to be aware of those frequencies and navigate them with care this week. Uranus with Mars also, it's kind of bringing up energy and bringing up shadow. Mars is in the underworld. He's still in Scorpio, and he is bringing to light all the shadow and the crap and the shit that we don't want to look at. And Uranus can bring a release valve of even more of that. We do want to be aware, though, Uranus is a sudden and unexpected energy, and so channeling our will with consciousness so that we're not acting out from like the lower brain and the lower chakras that are not balanced with the higher chakras. Too much of that can be, we can find ourselves saying and doing things that we maybe wish we hadn't done. Also being aware of accidents, because this energy, Mars-Uranus, if it's not channeled consciously, it can come out as accidents. You're angry, so you're not paying attention, and you kick your toe into the chair and it breaks or whatever, and that's like the universe going, wake up, be present. And so it's a good time to be aware of that. Now, Thursday the 14th, Mercury squares Juno. So remember, Tuesday, Venus squared Juno. Thursday, Mercury squares Juno. Again, it's a day of focusing on commitments, collaborations, relationships, contracts, communicating about our needs, listening to somebody else's needs, or a collective's needs, whatever. There is a need for balance here. If we go my way or the highway, or think we're the one that has the whole truth, then we're not going to find a middle ground. So be aware when communicating that day. Friday, the Sun in Cancer squares Eris in Aries. So here we've got another activation, and over into Saturday, the Sun's going to trigger Uranus as well. So we've got another activation of Uranus-Eris, Friday and Saturday. Great for revealing truth, Great for radical change, transformation, evolution, but also like really needing to bring a disruptive energy in so that it can change something. You know, sometimes when things have stayed stuck and stagnant for so long, it just, you kind of get apathetic and you just don't do anything. And then change becomes harder and harder the longer you wait it out. This energy with Uranus and Eris, oh boy, this is like throwing whatever needs to be thrown underneath to make it go, you know, so that it can change. And some of these explosions that seem like the worst thing ever are actually the best thing ever because they're shifting energy. What direction the energy shifts in is, you know, different for everybody, but it's definitely Friday and Saturday are a time to utilize the energy of change, of willingness to see the truth, of willingness to own the truth, of willingness to express anger, but also listen to others' anger, to be honest about our emotions. All of this is a good idea this weekend. Also Saturday, other than the Sun square Uranus, there's a ton of other things. So Mercury co-joins Venus. So Mercury, the mind, Venus, the heart, they align. It's a great day for communication, for sharing from the heart, but also the mind. For getting clear on what we need and what we value, what's important, and being able to extend that out to others, share that with others. Again, you know, they both have been square Juno, and they're heading into Black Moon Lilith on Saturday and Sunday, so there's also a dark goddess energy present. And the dark goddess, you know, one of her totems is the owl for a reason. Like, she sees into the night, into the dark. She sees what nobody else can see. She sees what nobody else wants to see. And Lilith, squaring Mercury and Venus, can really bring stuff to light that the Leo energy is not necessarily, you know, wanting to see. And so Mercury-Venus is a lovely aspect because it's squaring Lilith, we need to be aware of these other shadowy energies, deep, intense energies that are coming to light and, you know, deal with them in a conscious, aware way. The Sun trines Mars that day, which is lovely. It's great for taking action. It's great for dealing with things, expressing ourselves, especially now that Mars is finally direct. You know, before when he was retrograde, it was like restriction and limitation, like you want to make things happen, but they can't. Sun trine Mars is like helping us to like access that Mars energy, anchor it into our sense of self, and then do what we need to do. Ceres, the great mother asteroid goddess, moves into Taurus that day. And this is a lovely energy for her. First of all the signs in the zodiac, you know, Taurus would probably be one of the ones she's most associated with. And when she's in Taurus, she is like the earth mother, you know. It's earthy, embodied, sensual Taurus, and then the great mother in that sign. And so we're very focused on nurturing and nourishing in practical, physical, tangible ways. We can also be very focused on the environment, the world around us, taking care of others by feeding them, by, you know, caring for them in actual physical ways, not just, you know, here's some money or whatever. Although, you know, Taurus rules money as well, or Taurus has associations with money. Then Saturday evening, Mercury squares Lilith. And so Mercury, Lilith, whew, potent energy. This is about seeing into the dark. It's about communicating truth. It's about getting to the root of things. It's really potent energy. If we stay in the Leo, we don't want to see the shadow. All we want to see is the light. You know, Leo's ruled by the sun. If we stay in Lilith, all we're seeing is the shadow and we can't see the light. So we want them to work together, but they are square, so there can be tension. It can be like a conflict. And we need to communicate from a place of desire for truth, but also compassion. You know, so shining a light on the shadow, but doing so from a loving, heart-centered place. That's actually one of the highest manifestations of Leo and Lilith and Scorpio working together. And then the Sun trines Chiron that evening. And so in the morning, Sun square Uranus. In the evening, Sun trine Chiron. So again, another activation of the Uranus-Chiron semi-sextile. So this is a great day for shifting, for healing, for seeing things, for finding more clarity around dynamics in our lives that we're moving through, that we're needing to learn from, grow from, evolve through. A great day to be open to healing that happens when we go into and through whatever it is that was blocking our healing. And then last but not least, Sunday, Venus squares Lilith, Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio. So powerful feminine energies that day. a force to be reckoned with, perhaps. Again, relationships, deep stuff can be coming up. We need to steer clear of power control dynamics and instead use the Lilith energy like an owl that penetrates and sees to the truth and then speaks the truth. But again, from the heart, because, you know, if you got the gift of seeing the truth, but you can't give it from the heart, it's not going to be able to be received. And then if all you can do is see from the heart, then you're not actually seeing the shadow, or, you know, you're not seeing the other little pieces, and, you know, you could kind of be a deer in the headlights. And so you want the two to work together. And then last but not least, Mars trines Chiron. And so we also have Mars triggering the Uranus-Chiron semi-sextile this week, because Mars quincunxed Uranus on Wednesday. So another activation of an opportunity for bringing things to light and doing the work we need to do to heal them. And with Mars involved, it can be around our sexuality, it can be around our masculine, our inner masculine, our animus, or relationships with men in our lives. It's like the upheaval that's coming with the Mars-Uranus Eris is shining a light on what needs to shift. And any outer dynamics with men in your life can be reflective of an inner masculine dynamic you're playing out. We all have inner masculine and feminine, whether you're a man or a woman. We all have, you know, both. And so Mars Chiron can be good for that. Can also be good for emotional healing and catharsis. You know, these are water signs. And so really being willing to dive deep and get to the root of things so that we can then bring the truth back up into consciousness and integrate it. You know, that's the point of shadow work. Carl Jung said that enlightenment is not about a process of imagining figures of light, but of making the darkness conscious. So I always try and make sure when I'm speaking about shadow work, I'm not saying you bring the shadow to the light. You're not like trying to shine a light on the shadow. You're not trying to essentially, you know, get rid of the shadow. It's there for a reason. It's half of the whole. But you're bringing the shadow to consciousness. You know, consciousness has the capacity for all of it. Light and shadow, good and bad, right and wrong, masculine and feminine. Consciousness contains all of it. And so this is a good week to be willing to do that work, to shadow work, diving in, facing inner dynamics, seeing outer ones for what they are, and learning through it all. So that is this week's forecast. If you are interested in the Sex God Yoga Conference, I'll put a link to it in the description under this video. The website, if you want it verbally, is www.whereismyguru.com and then /sex-god-yoga. And I have a coupon code in the description if you are interested in joining. There's like a 20% off coupon code. And it'll be amazing. I'm actually quite excited. I personally, next week, as this conference is going on, will be in a week-long shadow work intensive with one of my teachers, Robert Masters. And so I'm heading into a powerful, deep week, and I'm very excited. And I'm also excited that the Sex God Yoga Conference is going on the exact same time. Like, it just feels like such a powerful week for deep work and deep revelations and deep healing. And I look forward to giving you guys the weekly forecast for next week, and hope that you'll be part of this conference if you're a woman. It's for women only. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful transformational week. Call in the transformation and the growth with grace and ease. Blessings.